Good morning, everyone. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning on the Toyota Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Leica and Karen Ross. We're in chapter 2, still reading on philosophy of long-term system thinking. And we've identified these philosophies of thinking. One is the mechanistic thinking, which is a short-term thinking, and the other one is system thinking, which is a long-term thinking. Last week we looked at changing thinkings of senior people, that is the elderly, people who work in an organization, and we looked at benchmarking best practices site. Today we're looking at short-term mechanistic thinking and how it is self-reinforcing. We'll also look at philosophy is the foundation. We'll look at the vicious circles of mechanistic improvement and the vicious circle of organic improvement. So on page 81 today, start from short-term mechanistic thinking is self-reinforcing. In summary, it is very challenging to change those who have come to think of an organization as if they were machines to understanding organizations as living systems. Yet doing so is essential if we truly want service excellence. We must think long term. We must be willing to invest in our people and in creating an infrastructure that will indirectly lead to the passionate pursuit of satisfying customers' needs. We must understand that the place where we see a problem occurring is not necessarily the place where it is originated. We must understand that coercion is complex and can be secular, not necessarily on-dimensional and linear. In fact, secular processes are a major barrier to changing philosophy. Vicious circles run rampant, reinforcing mechanistic thinking in the way organization chooses to improve. Mechanistic thinkers will only invest in projects with a clear financial return. This leads to experts doing all the thinking to implement their solution. Since they cannot understand all the details of the work, and since they fail to get the people who work in the process to learn and buy in, the results are not sustainable. This leads mechanistic managers to want to tighten control even further through audits to ensure compliancy, which starts the self-reinforcing loop all over again. Contrast this to the vicious circle of an organic approach to improvement. The starting point is satisfying customers and developing our people so they will provide excellent services. This is a purpose that people can rally around. The core job of the leader is to coach and develop people who become engaged in achieving challenging objectives as a team. Suddenly, the creativity of people is unleashed and they have a personal stake in the improvement. Over the long term, we continually grow our capability and improve our services, which leads to the better sales and financial results for the business. Learning from improvement is one part of the enterprise, is shared with other parts, and we become a learning enterprise. Success reinforces the philosophy that we are building a living system, not deploying tools. Philosophy is the foundation. Philosophy is the foundation of service excellence and the remaining 3 P's, which is process, people, and problem solving. We shift next to the exploring lean processes. First, through examining a fictional but realistic case study in chapter 4 and then by exploring processes at the macro level and micro level in chapter 5 and 6. An underlying message will be to think of processes as changing and adapting, not as static and fixing. Above all else, we will insist that copying best practices, lean process from another organization is a bad idea. Service organizations are, in fact, different, and each service organization is unique and needs to follow its own path and develop and adapt its own processes, guided by thinking people who work in the processes they are improving. It is only when we aim for greatness for the long term that we'll be willing to make deliberate investments in the long term and audacious processes of building a culture of service excellence. The organization's way of thinking about the vision for success and how the organization will get there is philosophy. Thinking of organizations as machine to be tinkered with is necessarily limiting. All machines eventually break down and become obsolete. It is not only more successful, but even liberating to think of organization as a living system that can self-adjust and respond to feedback from the environment in order to learn, adapt, and grow. Key points: philosophy of long-term system thinking. Number 1, although philosophy is abstract, it is absolute. Sorry, I'll take that again. Although philosophy is abstract, it is absolutely fundamental and the foundation for service excellence in the 4P model. Philosophy gives purpose and direction to all an organization's efforts. Number 2, mechanistic thinking views human organization as a big machine in which people are interchangeable parts and in which cause and effect are direct and linear. This leads to sub-optimizing reductionist thinking, in which fixing one part of the organization is focused on to the exclusion and detriment of working on the whole. Companies with mechanistic thinking tend to have a short-term result, only views end. Number 3, organic thinking views human organizations as living systems in which all parts are interdependent and interrelated in a network of humans and technological elements. A system is a set of interconnected parts with a goal of survival of the whole organism. Companies with organic philosophy are focused on finding ways to fulfill their purpose over the long term by adapting to changing customers and environmental needs, by creating new products, services, processes, and means. Number 4, system thinkers support long-term survival and support high-performance organizations by building the capacity for innovating in the way we serve customers throughout the organizations and over time. Number 5, purpose-driven organizations have strong underlying philosophies that focus on providing superior value to customers and societies and look beyond making money. Making money is an outcome of fulfilling purpose. A strong, well-known and understood purpose reduces myopia and allows everyone in the organization to keep sight of the big picture. Number 6, changing your company's philosophy is challenging but not impossible. A fundamental change in philosophy is hard to accomplish and takes time and repeated practices, along with repeated corrective feedbacks. It cannot be accomplished by copying other companies, including Toyota. Changing from short-term mechanistic to long-term purpose-driven organic way of thinking and working is essential to creating a culture of service excellence. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for our reading this morning. It has actually given us a brief summary of the philosophy of long-term system thinking, still reminding us not to think of an organization as something that is static, but look at it as a growing organism. When something is growing, it is liable to change, it is liable to learning, there's adjustment. But when you have a mechanistic thinking, you feel like everything should be done one way. There's no room for change, there's no room for improvements, there's no room for growth. So as a system thinker, over time, your philosophy changes. If one way is not working, for someone who is looking for growth and improvement, you try another way, look for other step. Like it explained to us, it's not just basically copying the Toyota way. Every company or every organization has its own philosophy of what they want to improve in. Most especially, it aims at satisfying customer. It aims at having a good service excellence, like customer good service, customer service excellence. That is what it's trying to like tell us. So short-term mechanistic thinking is self-reinforcing. It's always thinking about self. It's not thinking about everybody. It's not thinking about everyone or the organization as a team. It's just thinking of what it could get for itself. And it's not also looking at the organization as something that can grow in future. It's just looking at short-term results. Let's do this for now. They're not looking at what will happen in future. If we do this now, what will happen in future? How is it going to affect us in future? It's just like, let's do it now. Let's just do it now. For now, let's forget about tomorrow. Tomorrow will sort itself out. So under vicious cycle of mechanistic improvement, you have the act, the plan, the do, and the check. Under the act, you have the top-down audit tightens control. Under the plan, you have a short-term project with direct financial results. You're actually looking for a financial result immediately. What is going to be the return on investment? Then the do, experts driven to top-down and people not engaged, lower process discipline. People are not engaged in the decision making. You only allow the experts to want to make the decision. Let's look for an expert that will do this sharp. You're not trying to engage everybody in the organization to like bring up an idea. What do you think is going to solve this problem? And that is not a way for anybody in an organization to grow, because you're not engaging anyone mentally. Then the check said results not sustainable. Like I said, a mechanistic thinker is looking for a short-term goal. They're not looking for results that can be sustainable, nothing to sustain. So that's the vicious circle of a mechanistic improvement. Then when you look at the vicious circle of an organic improvement, it still also has the act, plan, do, and check. Under the act, you share learning broadly. Everybody tends to learn when there is a challenge in an organization. Then under the plan, you have focus on customer and people development. How do we satisfy our customer? How do we develop ourselves to satisfy our customer? How do we improve ourselves? What skills do we need to acquire to be able to satisfy our customer? That is under the plan. Then the do, leaders as coaches and engage people improving towards challenges. Not like in this mechanistic thinking, people are not engaged mentally and they have lower process of discipline. You're not challenging them. There's nothing challenging them mentally. Then under the check, you have continuously growing capabilities and business results. There's continuous growth, there's continuous improvement, and there's continuous learning. So that is a brief summary of our book reading on chapter 3, which says philosophy of long-term thinking. Tomorrow we'll be looking at chapter 4, which says developing lean processes, a short story. Thank you.